Hello, you beautiful little marketing bees. You're tuned into episode 80 of the Marketing Buzzword Podcast.
This is the Marketing Buzzword Podcast, the podcast where we dissect the world's most common marketing buzzwords. Hold on tight. We are about to fly around the beehive to see the latest buzzwords that stuck to the marketing bees.
Hello again, and welcome back to the Marketing Buzzword Podcast. This is the podcast which helps you to understand what all these business and marketing buzzwords actually mean, and how they can be helpful or not going forward. I'm your host, Ben Roberts, and in this show, I am the marketing bee in charge of making sure I can get on the right guests and ask the right questions to make sure that these words and phrases actually make sense. And in today's show, we're going to make sense of the buzzword lead generation. Before we do so, though, I need to let you know this podcast is powered by Talkative. Talkative is an innovative company that brings together live web chat, web calling, video calling, and co-browsing together in one package into your website. It allows you to humanize your communication process, nice buzzword there. Allows you to humanize your communication process and improve your customer experience. All that while basically being able to talk to people properly in the way that they want to talk to you. It's a really, really cool solution. Check it out at talkative.uk. And one final thing before we get on to this week's guest, if you are loving the show, please do feel free to leave me a review on iTunes. It really does help boost the show's profile and move us up the iTunes ranking. So if you haven't yet, please do leave a review on iTunes. Right, that's more than enough about me. It's time to introduce this week's guest. Now, this week's expert buzzword bee is a woman called Kathy Wassel. Now, Kathy is a lead generation strategist specializing in Facebook ads and LinkedIn. She has worked in marketing for 24 years now and runs her own social media agency called Socially Contented. As well as a membership site for new business, she also runs she runs a membership site called Go With The Pro. This is where she helps businesses, coaches and consultants to find more clients in an ethical and personal way. You can find out more about her at sociallycontented.com or gowiththepro.uk. Right, that's more than enough from me. Let's get on with the show. Hi, Kathy, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Ben. How are you today?
Oh, wonderful. I'm actually, I'm good. How about you?
Yeah, I'm good too. On the day that we are recording this, I've got quite a nice blue sky. Always cheers you up a bit, I think, when there's a nice blue sky.
I know. Actually, as you said that question, I looked out and that's what I think. You know what? I thought I'm okay today. I looked out and it's blue sky. You know what? I'm good. Today,
yeah, exactly.
Instantly mood transition. So, Kathy, lead generation. That is the topic of today. So,
it is.
What is your... Okay, so I'm going to go straight into this now. What is your take on lead generation? What is good lead generation? Obviously, I think this is the point of this podcast is to help demystify and debunk. I think lead generation in itself actually is quite a simple buzzword to actually understand the general concept that you want to generate leads. But what does that actually mean in a practical sense?
Yeah, I mean, I should say that even though I do call myself a lead generation strategist now, I don't really like the term lead generation, and I do think it's a bit of a silly buzzword. But, you've got to, if everyone in the market is using it, then you've got to really, haven't you? So for me, lead generation is about creating a stream of possible clients for my clients. So possible clients or possible customers, of course, for my clients. So for me, lead generation should be personal. It should be authentic. I think you really need to be, especially if you are a one man or woman band, like a solopreneur or a consultant or a coach, I do think that you need to be showing your personality, building up some kind of personal brand that will really help you with getting clients, which we can perhaps we'll just say getting clients instead of lead generation now.
No, sorry, there's a couple of really interesting points I want to bring up there. And the first one actually is you mentioning yourself. Obviously, lead generation is obviously the buzzword, and actually, it's interesting. I say is you don't necessarily like the word yourself, but actually because that's almost how you get found, and that's the term that people know and associate, and it makes sense to people. It's almost one of those words that you have to go by.
Yes.
And it's a really interesting thing. That's just one the reason I picked that up actually is the fact that that's a lot of stuff I've just tried to cover in my book, and it's trying to look at actually how these different words and phrases, and people have to align themselves to them, because actually that's how they'll get found. If they started using other terms, you probably wouldn't have a business, because no one would necessarily... A client getting strategist doesn't have the same ring.
You need to use too many words to explain it, otherwise that's the problem. Believe me, I have tried.
I absolutely love that. I think that's absolutely fascinating itself. But then the second thing that I loved about what you said, and I think this is something that I think we can really drill down into, and that was the authenticity part of it, because I guess this is almost like a buzzword within a buzzword here, and without trying to make it like Inception where we've got buzzwords inside of buzzwords, is authenticity. Now, what does that mean to you, and what are you looking for in how would you look at applying that in a lead generation sense? What are some of the things that people do well in terms of authenticity and lead generation, and what are some of the things you do bad? Because I've got a real mixed experience in this field, because lead generation is quite a wide topic, and people seem to be doing it there's a huge way of doing lead generation.
Yes. Well, I mean, I think authenticity has almost become a buzzword in itself, I think, and so in some ways I feel a bit cheesy using that word, and I think it's a shame that it has become slightly cheesy, because it shouldn't be cheesy at all. But for me, being authentic in the way that you do business and the way that you get clients is just being yourself, being real. I know that we're all, well, most of us are really fed up with being spammed to death. Particularly on LinkedIn, it can be so spammy. You know, you almost don't want to open your messages because you're just constantly receiving spammy messages. The moment someone contacts you, they, try and sell you something or try and get you to go to their website to download an ebook or something like that. And I think we're just all fed up with that. And we're also fed up with seeing or receiving messages that have obviously come from a bot, and have obviously been sent to however many other people at the same time, the same message. I think it's becoming very obvious when messages are like that, and people don't like it. People buy from people. They don't want to buy from something that's very, very obviously automated. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely a place for automation. But I think in the individual contact for lead generation, it needs a personal touch as well.
No, this is a really interesting one, because again, I'm very much of the mindset that you have there. But from the people that I've spoken, because I'm so blessed with this podcast to be able to speak to such a wide range of people who look at different topics. And on the automation side, one of the things that a previous guest has brought up is actually with potentially using chatbots and things. Again, I'm not a huge believer in chatbots. I think they have a place for certain people, but I agree with you. You lose that human touch, and when you get these chatbots that automatically push out content to you. But actually, maybe from a lead generation point of view, would you not say that it's actually quite efficient? And actually, if you're putting out content, actually that doesn't require necessarily people to buy, but it helps create that awareness, helps drive traffic, that in itself is actually quite a successful lead generation tool. Does that make sense? Because although you've lost some of the personality, actually it's much more efficient. Actually, do people really care as long as they're getting the quality content?
Yes, there's a place for chatbots as well. I've got a chatbot myself, and I think if you have a really fun chat flow that actually sounds like you, that uses your tone of voice, that uses the kind of language that you would use, that asks sensible questions and gives room for sensible answers, which by no means all chat flows do that, then I think there's definitely a place for chatbots. I know many people don't like them. I don't really like them myself either, but there's definitely a place for them. But it doesn't replace individual personal contact for lead generation. You're never going to get, a one-to-one client that has a value of £5,000 or $5,000 from a chatbot. That's just not going to happen. There's always going to be personal contact involved before that happens. So yes, a chatbot has a place in maybe getting someone to your website to read a blog or something like that. But when you're talking about something that has a lot more value, there's got to be personal contact involved. And of course you can get involved later along the line. And that's what I would always advise people to do. But when you are talking to people, for example, on LinkedIn, which is Facebook ads and LinkedIn is where I specialize. If you're talking with someone on LinkedIn, then I think it becomes very obvious when it's just something that's being sent to so many people and it's depersonalized, and you just can't personalize to that extent with a bot.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that, and I think this is one of the things that, so Talkative, the company I work for and sponsor the podcast, that's a big thing what we're trying to champion, these human-powered communications, and it's actually, and in our target market is high value, highly emotional, highly quite complex products, a little bit like what you're talking about with your lead generation stuff. Actually, when people want a quick fix, yes, the chatbot has their place, but actually when they want to have these detailed conversations, they want to have this relationship, because again, you don't want to be buying consultancy work off a chatbot. You may look at it and go, actually I may need to just schedule a new time with this person, but actually but you're already working with them, you need to just schedule a time or just say I need to meet up with you, whatever. But actually that process of actually having discussions, you wouldn't do that through a chatbot. Or again, you're calling it an insurance company. We just done a report recently, and we only found one insurance company that was using a chatbot, and most of them were starting to use like the live chat scenarios, because people don't want to necessarily buy insurance of a chatbot. Why would they want to do that? Because it's quite a sensitive area, and they want to know they've got everything right, and they don't want that reassurance. A chatbot doesn't give you that human level of reassurance.
I would be really interested actually to have a conversation with a chatbot about buying insurance, because every time I have bought, let's say, car insurance or something, it's practically a 20-minute, 30-minute phone call to get through all the information. I certainly wouldn't want to be doing that with a chatbot. Exactly.
It's a really, really interesting way people work. And going back to the authenticity side of things, then, well, even actually on this human connection, then, is one of the benefits then we see of this is efficiency. So if people do want to maintain that human, that authentic connection with people who they're trying to target to get to win their business, essentially, how can they make that more efficient? So going down sort of looking at trying to automate certain processes, but without losing that authenticity. What sort of tools and techniques can people use that keeps them as a person, but allows them to reach more people? Because again, if you individually messaged every single person you were trying to generate as a lead, potentially you would spend all your time talking to people and not actually doing any business or even doing any work. So how do you balance all that up, Kathy? I'm intrigued.
Well, for a start, I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, obviously it depends on the level of the person that's doing this work, but I wouldn't necessarily do everything myself. I would perhaps use a VA to do quite a bit of it. It's perfectly possible to train somebody to speak in your tone of voice and to have your messaging in the same way as you use a social media manager. It's perfectly possible to do that and use them for lead generation. It's advisable, in fact, to use some kind of template. Again, I'm iffy about the use of templates, but some kind of messaging template that you can very, very much personalize is obviously good for efficiency. But otherwise, I'm not a massive fan of tools on LinkedIn. For a start, I question whether you will be able to use them for all that much longer. Let's face it, they're all, they're all cracking down on third-party tools. So I prefer the personal touch, and perhaps it's because I work with higher cost lead generation, where I think you really do need that personal touch. I'm not talking about getting leads for a £50 product or something like that. I'm talking about coaches and consultants where we're talking multiple thousands of pounds per lead. So, for that, you're obviously, a lead is more valuable, they have more lifetime value, and you're going to put a lot more effort into it.
Yeah, no, I make that. I think LinkedIn is probably one of the best and the worst examples of where tools. It used to be Twitter that was the worst, and now as LinkedIn's becoming very, very, very quickly like that. And I know I get so many messages of people. It's just irrelevant. It is impersonal. It makes there's a lack of research gone into any of the message, and it's just hoping that, because on the funny thing is, like, on my LinkedIn, I have to do, because I'm Ben M. Roberts on everything, because there are too many people called Ben Roberts, so that's like my differentiator. But it means on my first name on LinkedIn it says Ben M. So I know that anyone who almost messages me and they call me Ben M,
yes,
I can almost tell that's 90% of the time that's just someone who's just scraped.
That's automated,
yeah, that's just scraped the data, and you can see that's laziness, because people would know, actually, if they looked at it, oh, his name's Ben, not Ben M, like Ben space M. It just wouldn't make sense. So, and these little things like that, it suddenly is like you start, only since I did that probably about, I don't know, a year ago now, I've really started noticing the difference in the amount of actually what were truly spam messages and what aren't.
Yeah, so that message immediately becomes useless to you. You immediately either delete it or block. If you're me, you block that person, not block them, but delete them from your connections, because you don't want any more messages from them, because those messages are completely irrelevant to you. So you don't want to fall into that category if you are doing lead generation for yourself or for a client.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're working for a business then, and you're using, say, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, and you want to connect with people, what is a good way of really being able to connect people? Because I know people get so many of these messages. Again, they don't be able to tell difference between what some of them are spam, some are just genuine people. How would you start and maintain a conversation that people actually want to have with you? Because obviously they get so many messages. How, as a salesperson or someone who's trying to generate leads, what's an effective way of doing that through channels like LinkedIn, where there is so much spam in the way?
Well, I actually wouldn't try to connect with somebody until I'd already tried to communicate with them on the feed, so engaging with some of their content. I think it's really important not only to engage with other people's content for the LinkedIn algorithm, but also to produce your own content, of course, and to post consistently on LinkedIn. So you're doing a two-prong approach, really. You've got your own content marketing, where you're showing yourself as an expert in whatever field you're in, but also you're trying to build connections by engaging with people. So, you wouldn't just go up to, let's say you're at a party, you wouldn't just go up to somebody and immediately ask them for their phone number, would you? So instead you would go up to them, you would have a conversation, you would build a rapport before you ever ask anybody for their phone number. And it's the same thing. You need to build some kind of connection before you're actually asking to be connected with them on LinkedIn, even if it's just replying to one of their comments on LinkedIn. For a start, if somebody isn't really very active on LinkedIn so that you couldn't engage with any of their comments, do you actually want to connect with them on that platform? Possibly not. So all these things need a bit more of a personal input than just using automation tools all the time.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point there, isn't it? It's not just you trying to reach out to other people, it's actually trying to create a lot of those inbound leads yourself, because obviously lead generation, some people would look at as actually going out there and actually trying to almost knock on virtual doors in terms of social media to get more attention and actually connecting with people. But actually, by creating more of your own content, you start drawing more people into you, and it's more of an inbound lead generation. And actually, we see that that's actually a lot more efficient. And I know you and I both know John Asperian, and again, he's brilliant at this, posting a lot of relevant content, and people know him because he's actually being helpful, and that's his lead generation technique. He doesn't have to reach out to people anymore, and it's actually as an efficient way, you're producing not only great stuff in terms of getting people's attention on the platforms, it's SEO value. There's a lot of SEO value in it. It means you rank highly in the search engine, which is really organic and natural, and it actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's amazing, actually. I love what you said there, because too many people just go, I need to reach out to people and connect with them and send them messages, and actually that doesn't work. It doesn't always work like that.
No, you just need to take a little bit of time. It's called social media for a reason. You need to be social on it. And John is a good example. He doesn't, as far as I know, he doesn't advertise at all. And he has got all of his business organically, either through referral or through people seeing his content. He's got a lot of business through people seeing his content. So I think that social selling, in this case, is connected in a very special way to lead generation now. We are gone beyond the days of cold calling. Lead generation doesn't need to be like that anymore. It shouldn't be like that anymore. If someone cold calls me, I put the phone down immediately. So, and I know that I'm not alone in this. So I think that we just need to move on. We need to move into the 21st century a bit more, I think.
Yeah, no, I think I can't agree more. So one of the things that sort of fascinates me about lead generation, and I think that's something that people maybe get wrong, and this is what this podcast is all about, is the idea of funnels. And people seem to either love or hate funnels in terms of creating content for different stages of the funnel, and how that feeds down through leads, and actually how it all works. So do you have a funnel, Kathy? Do you recommend funnels? And if you do or don't, why and how can they work?
Well, I think funnels confuse people.
Yes.
not everybody, but I think funnels can be very confusing. So for me, of course I understand funnels now, but I went through a long time where I really didn't understand what funnels were. I didn't understand how they worked, and they really, really confused me. And I think it's partly to do with the way that your brain works. So for me, I cannot read maps. For the life of me, I cannot read a map properly. I just get really confused. I look on my phone on Google Maps and I think I know the way, but I have to turn my phone upside down to be able to understand the map. But then, of course, the picture changes on your phone and it doesn't want you to do it like that. And I always say that it feels in my brain like a plate of spaghetti. It's all confused and jumbled up, and that's how funnels felt to me. Because they're kind of all going in different directions. If you do this, you go there. If you do that, you go there. I think most people do not need a complicated funnel, and you don't even need to call it a funnel. So for most people, there will only ever be maybe 2, maybe 3 stages in a funnel, unless you've got a big advertising budget and you're building a long e-com funnel that you need multiple touch points with people. You are not going to be having a really complicated funnel. So for me, let's not talk about funnels. Let's talk about touch points with people. Let's talk about how you initially make contact with somebody, and then perhaps you might tell them that you've got this really great opt-in, and they might like to go to your website and download it. So they go to your website, they download that. That's their second touch point with you. And then you manage to get them on your email list because of this opt-in. You might send them a newsletter. That's their third touch point. You might then tell them about a Facebook Live that you're doing. You'll tell them in your newsletter about this Facebook Live. They come and watch your Facebook Live. That's the next touch point. And there's going to be a wide variety. I know you hear all different numbers of touch points, which is the optimum that you need for someone to buy. And I don't know what the correct answer is. I've heard anything from 7 to 13. I have no idea what the correct answer is, or if indeed there is a correct answer. Who knows? But there is going to be multiple touch points before somebody trusts you enough to buy from you. Probably. Yes. There will always be someone that will buy straight away, and there will be someone that will never buy from you, always. But in general, there's going to be multiple touch points. And basically all you're doing is try not to think of it as you're sending somebody down a funnel, because I think that just sounds really complicated, and it also sounds really impersonal as well.
Exactly, yes.
Try to think of it as that you are showing yourself to them. You're trying to let them get to know you. You're trying to let them get to trust you and see that you are a decent person to do business with or to buy from, or whatever it is that you're selling. You're just basically getting them to know, like, and trust you. That is the whole point. You're not trying to be best buddies with them. Obviously, in the end, you want them to buy something from you. We all do. Let's just be honest about that. Yeah. But on the other hand, it comes back to authenticity. You want them to know you. You want them to know your story, so that they trust you and that they realise that you are a trustworthy person to buy from. That's basically all it comes down to. So you reach the end of your funnel at whatever touch point it is, when they trust you enough and they decide that actually now is the time to buy.
Yeah, no, I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Because I can see why people get really hung up on the idea of moving people down a funnel, because especially if you're of a certain mind, it can make a lot of sense. Okay, people go to this stage, then they move down to here, they move down to here. But actually, it takes away all that level of personal touch, and it takes away all that personality. It's almost going, everyone is exactly the same. This person obviously wants this type of content. This person obviously wants this type of content. Okay, we all produce this type of content at this time, this type of content now. But actually, if you didn't think about it a little bit in that way, then you actually are potentially missing a trick, or you are potentially not having enough content that would actually get people over the line. Are you actually adding the right level of value that people are looking for in order to make that final purchase decision? Yes, they come to you and they've got all the information from you, but they don't know why you're different to anyone else and you're slightly more expensive. There's no real incentive for them to come to you.
That's why you need a good content marketing strategy.
Exactly. So how much does lead generation, where does it lie, between marketing and sales? Where is there a distinction in any certain parts, or is it all completely entwined and actually no one really knows who's responsible for what?
I think now we're in the days of digital marketing. I think it is very blurred, and I think it could fall into either remit, really.
It's an interesting one, because I know obviously marketing and sales are often at loggerheads, and it's trying to work out who's actually doing what. Because I guess I know I've had discussions with different sales teams and people in the past trying to work out who's responsible for what of the lead generation process, because obviously sales is still that sometimes where you go, they don't understand inbound, and they want to go out there and talk to people because they feel like they're not doing anything unless they're going out there and banging on doors and virtual and like sending people messages. But then marketing, like, hang on, now you're treading on my toes because I'm trying to drive people inbound. And there's almost, I've seen sometimes these little conflicts between marketing and sales over lead generation and who's responsible for what.
I think eventually it will all be one department, and it will be much more joined up thinking, and they will all know their roles. But certainly, even in the most massive companies, they need to be talking to each other much more than they have done traditionally.
Okay, so one final thing I really want to look at in lead generation. So what are, apart from being inauthentic, what are some of the other big mistakes that people would make in lead generation? Are there any big assumptions that people make, or any just big mistakes that you often see being carried out, and you go, why are people still doing that? That's either outdated, or it's actually just a really poor rule of thumb.
I think the biggest thing is probably kind of being all me, look at how fantastic I am, look at this fantastic thing I'm selling, rather than trying to solve problems of your target audience, and also not knowing your target audience well enough as well. Yeah. I think those are the two biggest problems. If you really nail your target audience, that's the only way that you are going to make sales really work for you. Because in order to write copy, let's say that you're writing a social media post, or you're writing Facebook ad copy, in order to really write that copy that resonates with that person, you need to be thinking about one particular person, one particular avatar. You can't sell to everybody. If you're talking to everybody, you're actually talking to nobody. So really, really nail your audience. That is the first thing, so that you can write copy where they read the copy and they think, wow, that person is really talking to me. That's what the kind of thing that you should be aiming for. And then going on about yourself, or depending on the kind of business, going on about yourself, saying, oh yeah, we do this, we do that, we do this, rather than putting the target audience first and thinking about the kind of problems they have and telling them how you can solve those problems. That is the way that they need to be doing it.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And that sort of sparked something else in my head, actually. 'Cause I know that was sort of going to potentially be one of my last questions, but this brings me... It's something that's been bugging me for a while now, Kathy, and you've sort of released this inner demon now inside me.
Oh dear, okay.
No, it's an interesting one, because there's been a huge amount of awards popping up here, there, and everywhere. Brands and companies putting on awards. Now, they used to be reserved for either big events or conferences, regional actual membership bodies, and now we're seeing just companies who are just networking companies, or just recruitment companies, or so, just putting on awards. Now, people seem to use awards as a lead generation tool, where they go, oh look, we've won 16 awards in the last 2 years. Now, people seem to be absolutely hammering this at the moment, nominating themselves to loads of awards, and I've seen one-man band, social media, one individual, one person, so obviously not being all sexist or anything, just one-person bands. Yeah, getting all the political correctness in here.
Okay.
But all these individuals, they could be okay, they could be great, but this person has won say 12 awards for social media or marketing, and a big agency hasn't put themselves up for any, and because they're all paid for by the people who put themselves up.
I know. Yeah.
So why are people doing this? What is the real value in this? Because this seems I can understand why it looks good, but actually it seems like the whole area of awards is just almost completely devalued itself over the last couple of years.
I agree completely. I think it has devalued itself. They've become just a money-making exercise, where you have to pay however £1,500 for a table of 8 or whatever it might be that time, or you have to pay to enter, or it's just ridiculous. I don't take part in any of those kind of activities.
No, it's
Mind you, I've not won any awards either. So
well, this is one of the things. I'm just wondering, as a lead generation tactic, do accolades mean anything more? Even if we take away some of those awards, how much do accolades really mean? And also, is this something that brands should be really striving for? Does that really matter? Are accolades any more important now than, say, maybe online reviews or something in order to sort of generate more leads? Do they still have a purpose?
I think an individual testimonial where it's obvious that somebody has actually worked with you and that your work has been really useful for them. I think that will always be much more valuable than any award. Most of these awards people won't ever have heard of, so I question how much value they really have. Sounds good to say that you're award winning, without a doubt. I don't think you can get away from that. But if they've never heard of the award, really, is that gonna sway them to, let's say, buy a £3,000 coaching package? I don't think so. Not more than a really good testimonial.
No, exactly. And it's one of those things where you see people who are writing books now and they're best selling, and you look at the most niche of niche categories that they're a best selling author in, and you're oh god, are you really claiming that you're a best selling author in the context of gnome huts in South Wales?
Yes, funnily enough, I just read a blog post on that the other day on how to become a best-selling author on Amazon, and it was, instructing you on
choose the nichest of the niche.
To choose.
Choose the most niche when no one else has written a book in there, then you'll be the best-selling one. It's just oh, ridiculous. And no, I think this has been absolutely fascinating, and these are these sort of these are the sort of tips that people give out that really give lead generation a bad name. It's saying you want to generate loads of leads. It's like get loads of awards in, become best-selling, become like put yourself out there like you're amazing. You've got all these awards. You've done all this stuff, and actually that's not what people really care about. Yes, they may go, oh, okay, they've won some awards. That's nice, but actually it's where is the value in that? What does that actually mean for the end customer? That doesn't really mean anything for the end customer if you're going to be another number in their list. As a customer, you want to know that you're going to be valued and appreciated by the company, agency, consultant, business that you're going to work with or for.
Yes, exactly.
It's fascinating stuff. Thanks so much for coming on today, Kathy.
You're welcome.
It's been really intriguing. I love looking at this idea of authenticity versus automation, and I think that it's a fascinating subject. I think it's going to take so many twists and turns over the coming years. I feel like with all this new technology that's constantly coming on board, it'd be interesting to see how. Because at the moment seems like we're in a time where we're thinking about the human element of marketing, yet we're also being very ironic and going, let's get more chatbots. It's a strange time, Kathy.
Yeah, I think we just need to, like with all technology, I think we need to just keep our eye on the ball and just recognise that there needs to be human input into it, and that you'll never be able to completely replace that, nor should you actually want to completely replace that.
Yeah, exactly. No, brilliant. But Kathy, before I let you go, I've got to ask you the question that I ask everyone at the end of each of these shows. I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready for this. So,
yep.
What other marketing buzzwords are you loving or hating right now? What's really grinding your gears and making you go, please people, stop using this term. It's frustrating the life out of me. Or what's really resonating with you at the moment? What's you going, yes, this is something I love talking about and love hearing about.
Do you know what I hate the most? The word I hate the most: prospect.
Ooh, I've not had that one on here yet. Ooh.
Yeah, I can't stand talking about people as prospects. I don't really like leads either, but prospects just somehow seems much worse. I don't know why.
Yeah, I guess it seems almost like you're trying to get a bit of like awe from the mind. You're going prospecting. It just doesn't. I can see why the word exists, but it's quite impersonal, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's depersonalizing them again. Yes.
And what about a word that you're absolutely loving? Is there anything that you're going, I'm using this term a lot, or it has a lot of meaning and resonates with you quite a lot at the moment?
Something that comes, it's not to do with lead generation, but something that comes up at the moment a lot is imposter syndrome. I'm a member of some big groups of women, and it's something that you see almost 100% in the group is that people have this imposter syndrome. They don't think they're good enough. I think it's a shame, and I'm not really sure where it's come from.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. You see that quite a lot, because when you see people who seem to be out there doing loads, it doesn't mean they're any better. They just seem to be out there more, but it can actually be quite. Yeah, I can see how that sort of. People look much larger than they potentially are, and it makes you go, "Why aren't I that well known, that well recognised?"
I think we're too hard on ourselves, and we're always trying to measure ourselves against other people. But in fact, you can never be the same as somebody else. Nobody can ever be the same as you. Nobody has your history, your family, all the things that have conspired to make you how you are, and the circumstances that have done that. Nobody has those. So just because somebody else that you feel is quite similar to you might be making six figures, it doesn't mean that you can't, but it doesn't mean that anyone should look down on you for not doing that, because you can't compare.
Well, yeah, there's different backgrounds, there's different clients, different areas. And if you're targeting an area that's actually of a low economic status compared to someone who's in the centre of London or mid-Manhattan, the earning potential is automatically quite different. I mean, but also then your expenses, and someone can turn around and say they've got a turnover of 10 million, but actually that can mean they're making a loss of. They're making a loss every month, whereas someone else could be turning over 100,000 and actually be making a really nice profit on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, fascinating! Thanks so much for your time today, Kathy. I've learned a lot.
Thank you.
I've had a lot of fun.
Good.
Brilliant.
I have too. Thank you.
No problem at all. Bye.
Bye.
Lead generation is always a hot topic on marketers' lips, because we always want to be able to generate more leads, and obviously more leads of a sufficient quality that we can actually convert more to customers. There's no point generating leads for the sake of generating leads. And this is one of the big problems with marketing and sales as a whole. We do get obsessed with lead number, because lead number gives you an idea of the potential market pool. But actually, just because someone may be a lead doesn't actually mean they're anywhere close to converting. And looking at things like this funnel, whether it exists or whether it doesn't exist, and how you actually move people down a funnel. I think the idea of a funnel where it starts at a bigger pool and gets to a smaller and smaller pool sounds right. In principle, it works. But actually, in reality, a funnel just doesn't have the same... doesn't really do it. It doesn't really justify how people actually move and interact through a journey. It's completely different. Every person's journey is completely unique. They're not always at the same stages in different parts of the funnel in their user journey. But I loved Kathy's actionable tips on how you can actually improve your lead generation in terms of being more human and being more personal. I think it's always a tough balance between humanization and automation, and I think we'll still get it very, very wrong. But I see so many more positives coming off the back of it, and hopefully, as I have, you've also taken something away from Kathy's wisdom and pearls of wisdom that she's given out on the show. So thank you very much, Kathy, and I hope you enjoyed the show too. Before you go though, please do leave a review of the show on iTunes, or visit marketingbuzzword.com for the website, which has all the information about the Marketing Buzzword project and podcast, on of which the book is coming out very, very soon. We're looking at just over 2 weeks now, so stay tuned for more about the book coming very, very soon. Goodbye.
This podcast is part of the You Are the Media Network.